How you doing, friends? I am Joe Craig, host of Reeling and Telling the Truth, where we give our point of view. You know what? Everybody got one. So I ran across some videos, and I'm gonna try to explain it, tell a little story. First off, is news for entertainment or shock value, or it's put in place to control, mind control, get us to think like they think. One mind, one like. It don't make no sense. But here's the thing though. It was affecting my mental and psychological health. So I had to draw in the wagons, if you will, and I had to come back to Mr. Joe Craig. Peace of mind, get away from that TV and keep it moving. I try to watch movies and other stuff now because today 2024, it appears to me that every news channel, every station is saying the same thing. You can hear it from 1 o'clock in the morning to 1 o'clock at night. And I think for me, in my point of view, it's designed to get us off track and worried and whatever the case may be. But I remember great news reporters, Chet Huntley, David Brinkley, I go way back. I could eat Dan Rather, Walter Cronkite. Those guys were pretty good, and Barbara Walters, and there were some good African American ladies and men, but I can't remember their names off the top. But they were fair and balanced. You couldn't have got away with all the stuff that's going on, talking about fake news this, fake news that. If you saw it on a video, whether it was 5 years ago and somebody said it, they said it. If you see in the emails, rather, that they said it, they said it. If you see pictures of stuff, legitimate pictures, they did it. So I don't know why people are going around the block and up the street and down and doing everything to go against it. Let's check out what this reporter has to say.
A recent survey from the American Psychological Association shows two-thirds of adults say the current political climate is a significant source of stress in their lives. More than three-quarters are stressed about the future of our nation. Some experts refer to this as election stress disorder. For more on the psychologist, Dr. Gregory Jans joins me live over Zoom. Good morning, doctor. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, good morning. Election stress disorder. Here's another new label.
Yeah, exactly. So what is election stress disorder and what are the symptoms?
Well, we've been going through a lot of chronic stress for a long period of time. And here we are. We're at the tipping point. You've already struggled with depression, anxiety, and now people are worried about their future. We used to be worried about the Gen Z, the millennials, but this is everybody right now. The intensity is high. Here's what I'm looking at. Anticipatory anxiety. That's the pending doom. Things aren't going to turn out the way I want them to. It's going to be terrible. So there's the pending fears and doom. And that intensity is really high.
So what are some of the symptoms?
It's based on an alternate reality. It ain't me saying it. Listen up.
But this new research shows many Americans say they are stressed out over politics now, and they believe it's affecting their mental and physical health.
Political discord is again whipped into a frenzy. With 24-hour access to news and social media, it's hard to escape. Now, new research says Americans are making themselves sick over politics.
Everything from stress and loss of sleep to damaged friendship to even thoughts of suicide because of politics.
Political scientist Kevin Smith authored the study, which analyzed a sample of American adults. 38% say politics are stressing them out. 20% are losing sleep because of it. And 11.5% report politics negatively affects their physical health.
1 in 4 said that they had lost a friend. Similar numbers sort of said that they had experienced problems at work.
I remember before all of this crazy politics started happening, people were more sociable, in my opinion. It doesn't matter what your ethnic background was. It didn't matter what your color of your skin was. It didn't matter. But now, everything that we had on the inside of us is more permeating on the outside. I'm going to make a generic statement, which is true. I started seeing a lot of my non-Black friends quit associating with me because of we differed in politics. Now, as an educator, I'll say that I will say this too. It's about morals, ethics, and values, and telling the truth and keeping it real. That's what it's about. But guess what? That I didn't know. I knew a few big companies were behind the media in America and across the globe, but I didn't know until I did my research recently that many of these companies tell the reporters what to read and say. I mean, if you know anything about news people, they just reading, and if you look close, you can see their eyes moving. So they really don't have their own opinion. They don't fact check to me on TV. They just let it flow and tell you to get your popcorn and your soda and sit back and enjoy the crazy ride about murder, politics, and what's this, what's that. But let me tell you what's really going on. Check this out.
We are fighting the fake news. It's fake, phony, fake.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
Yeah. Nothing says we value independent media like dozens of reporters forced to repeat the same message over and over again.
Yeah. That don't make any sense to me again. They're reading what they're told to read. Get it, folks. And they own most of these television stations and also radio stations. But let me tell you again how it's really affecting what we listen to. Check this out.
Why didn't the anchors who didn't want to read it refuse or quit?
This was a disgrace across the board on the part of the journalists involved.
That led a team at Bloomberg News to investigate. They found many of the Sinclair employees are bound by an unusual employment contract. Jordan Holman was one of the Bloomberg reporters on that story.
So, Jordan, let's talk about the contract first. What's in it that's unusual?
For Sinclair employees, it can be very expensive to leave. There's a clause in their contract that lays out the terms of if they quit. So it's called liquidated damages. And in those liquidated damages, it says if you leave before your contract is over, the company's able to charge you 40% of your annual compensation before you leave.
I've never heard of anything like that. I've been in this business a while. I've heard of non-compete clauses. I've even heard of people having to give up severance. I've never heard of people actually having to remit their salary, 40%.
Right. So when I was speaking to lawyers about this clause, they said for ordinary workers, they might never see that in any of their contracts. But in broadcast, it's more common among on-air anchors, where it would be expensive for a company to have to train and find new talent to bring in. What's unusual with Sinclair is that they had some people who never appeared on TV having to sign that clause.
So it actually does sound like a way of enforcing this notion that we write it and we want you to say.
Yeah, some employees did feel like they were kind of being held hostage. You know, it's an expensive thing to leave. And if you're in a local market and you want to be a journalist, there might not be another place to go. So they had to weigh, financial penalties with also other job prospects.
As you mentioned, many of these stations are local markets, and yet, as we saw just a moment ago, it was creating national headlines. They were talking about it on all the cable networks. We saw MSNBC talking about it. How is Sinclair reacting to the attention it's got, not just to this dictate that they all had to say the same thing, but the revelation that many of them are doing it because they don't see any choice?
So it's important to note that Sinclair is the largest broadcaster in the U.S. They have a huge reach. So they have many journalists all over the country. And their stance right now is that they are just promoting, making sure that there is media integrity, that there's not fake news. But inside, some employees feel that they don't want to work here anymore, that the political conservative lean is getting in the way of the factual journalism that they want to do.
I'm going to stop her right there. I would not want to go to work for a place that I had to read what somebody put in front of me. That's one of the reasons why I got out of education, because they were trying to tell me what to do, how to do, and I didn't really appreciate that. But anyway, let's get back on what we said. News. Is it for entertainment, shock value, or mind control? We've heard from some people today, and I think they did a good job of expressing. So be careful what you look at. Be careful on how you take it in. My name is Joe Craig. You can hit us up on YouTube at Reeling and Telling Our Truth. Tell your friends. I think it's some interesting videos on there. Or you can hit me up, leave me a comment on the Joe Craig Show at gmail.com. Everybody be blessed. Have a good day. Thanks. Bye.